Hey, you guys. Hope you're all doing well. Shane here again, meeting leader at Orca. We're continuing our discussion on our Smart Recovery workbook. This week we're on Chapter 3, which is the one that I've been talking about the past 2 weeks that has a majority of really good stuff and tools in it. It doesn't have a lot of reading. It's probably 3 tools and a few exercises, but this chapter is going to reoccur. The tools in it are going to reoccur throughout the program, and even when you're done with this in your own recovery. So without further ado, we'll get into it. We'll go through some of these exercises. Stay tuned because I will have a password somewhere in the video for you guys to give to the ladies up front. So without further ado, let's go. And beforehand, excuse me if I toke on my vape. My apologies ahead of time. So the name of the chapter is Building and Maintaining Motivation, and that's really the overlying point in this chapter is motivation. How motivation in our recovery keeps us in recovery, so to speak. I know that was a tongue twister, but basically we have to stay motivated no matter how long we're in recovery, because our recovery is based on our motivation to work the program we set for ourselves, right? So it talks about your motivation and why you're reading the handbook in the first few paragraphs, but it gets down to one of the first tools that we talked about in the first video, and that is your hierarchy of values. This is very important. There is a young lady by the name of Brittany Cunningham, and she is a member of the Fellows at Stanford Political Institute, and she has a podcast called Undistracted. And she's very, very smart young lady. She talks about systemic bias and racism and things like that that pervades some of our culture. But anyways, one of the things that she said, one of her quotes is, if you understand the roots of the tree, you can understand the fruits of the tree. So as far as our recovery goes, and whatever behaviors that are detrimental to us that we're working on right now, this is where we're really putting our roots in the ground, right? We're figuring out our plan. We're deciding what we hold fast to, what we value, and what is we need to focus on as goals to help us maintain our recovery from our addiction mainly, but also with these unhealthy thought processes and actions. So, hierarchy of values, the worksheet is pretty self-explanatory. I always try to put actual things like recovery, family, not any, at first I kind of put specific people, but with that being said, what do you hold in your hierarchy of values, your recovery? Whatever is in your, that's for you to decide. But, if you've got people in your hierarchy of values, especially early in recovery, you need to assess, what are the values of these people that are in your hierarchy of values, right? Are their values, are their actions, are they detrimental to what you're trying to do? Just a little side note. I'll leave my hierarchy of values out because it's not about me, it's about you guys. But this gives us a starting point to put a few things down. This and the next part of what are these things that we hold dear to that working on our addiction will help us with, the things that mean the most to us, right? And that we get to the next part of this chapter, which is actually an exercise. It's the 3 questions. I think we said something about that actually in chapter 1, unrelated to this, but it's a very important tool, and it can help quite a bit. The 3 questions are: what do I want for my future? What am I currently doing to achieve that? How do I feel about what I'm currently doing? Okay. So, for example, it says to be a good partner, parent, employee. So this gives us an actual physical thing we can put these goals on and revisit whenever we want. Sometimes it helps to put these things down, just like with a journal. You know, excuse me. Throughout your recovery, throughout your program that you figure out for yourself, as you do it now through the workbook, whenever you're done, some things come up in your life. It's always good to refer back to these 3 questions. You know, what do I want? What am I willing to do to get it? These things they seem common sense, but it's kind of funny how when we're in the moment and things are hectic, how much we can forget the common sense things. To have actual tangible things that we can hold on to that bring us back to those common sense thought processes is very valuable. I think the whole world could probably use a little common sense reminder personally, but we have ours, so we're good. Anyways, but answering those 3 questions and keeping those in your mind helps you with the next part. Once you figured those out, what are the answer to these 3 questions, we come to the next tool, which is, it goes right from exercise and figure 3.2 to tool. And our tool is change of plan worksheet, which again gives us another tangible thing to work through a process to help us answer these questions in a way that's helpful, or to work towards those goals that we have set up. You guys can see it in your workbook. It's pretty self-explanatory how to fill it out. It's pretty big, you know, and it's almost like filling out a application, an application to application for your own self-interest. Like here, so I'm sorry, I'm fiddling with this book holder. Apologies. Again, this gives us a very detailed set of categories that we can use to address the details in the ways we're going to address this change. And right now, in the beginning of our recovery, or the beginning of the workbook, it's kind of laid out in the example as working towards something, an idea with the family or recovery. But this could be just like with the 3 questions. You can refer back to this for anything, you know, later on down the line, when we're a year, 2 years, 3 years, God willing. Lord knows, I hope everybody who watches this or is in Orca or is in recovery anywhere can make it. That's the goal, right? You can refer to this for any issue, really. I mean, this is basically a change of plan for a current situation or thought process. It's not specifically set up for a change of plan specifically for your addiction, though that's what we're using it for. But we can use it for anything we deem unhealthy as a thought process, or things that we want to change or want to work on changing. And again, guys, it's helpful. You know, like I say in every video, journaling is always good, and it helps with all these things. I think the first time I read the 3-2 tool or exercise, I put journal more. So it's still scribbled on the book, but man, that journaling helps, even with coming up with ideas and answers to some of these, not answers, but things that you want to find a resolution to. Which that leads us into the next tool, which is our cost-benefit analysis, which is a big part of this chapter. It's the biggest tool in the chapter, and it's probably the most detailed, specifically for the reasons of us needing it in recovery from substances. Right? It's the one thing that in an actual SMART recovery in-person meeting, when you're filling out your meeting attendance sheet, that they want you to cover every single time, or they'd like you to. Talking about personal history and cost-benefit analysis is something that they like you to do in those meetings. But it's basically 2 parts, right? You can kind of read and see what it's talking about. But one thing that really struck me in this, and it might seem stupid, but I don't know, it just kind of said something to me, is that, have you ever looked at your behavior under a microscope and really examined all the benefits and all the costs? So this is laid out to look at the costs of and benefits of using. So, and that's kind of odd, I know, but it's laid out to where your first exercise section asks you to look at what are the benefits and of using or doing the specific action or substance that you're in this program for. I'm sorry, guys. And of course, we could go through a laundry list of those things. These are real nitpicky things. Really, anything that comes to your minds, like my social anxiety disappeared while I used drugs and/or alcohol. Now that's they have short-term costs and benefits, and they have long-term costs and benefits. And you don't have to put them in any specific order. Just ask that you put ST for short-term cost benefit, LT for long-term cost benefit. And of course, I can say it took away my social anxiety when I went to go party. But what's the cost? Of course, the next day I'm hungover. But that just doesn't apply. That doesn't just apply to substances. So let's say when I was married, I lied about recaulking the toilet. This is embarrassing. I should not have said this. Well, when I was married, I lied about recaulking the toilet, and what was the short-term non-benefit of that? Oh, it was that my wife was on the toilet and it started to leak a little bit. But things like that. Of course, long-term cost benefits, like lying and having some problems goes hand in hand with our addiction and behaviors. I know that myself, I've been guilty of cheating on significant others, and that's long term, of course, right? So really, it's anything, anything that you think you need to scrutinize, but don't let it get in your head, especially looking at the benefits of your use. If that kind of bothers you, especially if you're new in recovery, I would say maybe just jump to the cost and benefits of not using. But altogether, it's a great exercise. Of course, the next section is is the benefits of not using or doing. So the benefit of me saying, of me actually not lying about certain things probably wouldn't have cost me so many trust issues in the long run. Or my long-term benefit of never using drugs at all would have been that I wouldn't have a number of psychological issues or co-occurring disorder that comes sometimes from heavy drug abuse when you didn't have one before you actually started using. But these two are very important, and just like the other two figures and exercises in this chapter, we can use them at any time in our recovery. And that's what's so beneficial about this whole chapter, is it gives you a number of tools and exercises that you can acquiesce to any part of your recovery at any time. And 3 years down the road, you know, you're confronted with some strong moral and, you know, whatever issues, and you have some problems really pinpointing where things went wrong. Maybe it's a good thing to have something tangible that you can hold on to sit down and really peel back the layers of that onion, so to speak. The analogy we always use, you've probably heard it a million times, the addiction is not just the addiction, it is a many-layered cake or onion that you peel back each layer and you find something different. This will give you some tools to identify those things specifically, and especially if they're behaviors. One thing as addicts is, even in recovery, I have trouble with it even with a few years sober, is identifying my negative behaviors. And this helps do that. You know, just for me. I'm not saying, you know, it works for me, it's going to work for all you guys. I'm just telling you how it affects me. But cost-benefit analysis is a very big thing, very big. And guys, I'm not sure where you're at with this in the book, but this, like I said, even if you're further along with Becca or whatnot, you can always take a quick look at this. In short, the summary is, so far, you've done some wonderful and difficult planning. Congratulations. You identified your values, what you want your future to look like, what's important to you, and how your current behavior undermines your goals. You made a plan to create your future and honor your values, and you identified your support system, the people who can help you along your journey. You also identified, possibly for the first time, the long and short-term costs and benefits of your addictive behavior. These are a powerful insight. You may find yourself referring to these pages to help you stay motivated, especially as you move into point 2, coping and urges, which is what next week we're going to cover, coping and urges. It's a rough one, guys. It's a rough one. It always is. And it's not just rough for an addict. This is rough for anybody. We develop triggers as addicts that carry on into our sobriety. Sometimes they're easier to deal with than others. I always find that there's a great deal of discouragement when a recovering opiate addict especially finds out that they're clean, they're doing well, and all of a sudden it doesn't feel good. And that getting rid of the drug, and because you would think that taking away such a destructive aspect of a human being's life would immediately alleviate everything. But no, we know it doesn't work out like that. It takes a lot of hard work, dedication, and motivation, as we read tonight. I'm sorry, I'm just making sure that I did not miss anything that I want to talk to you guys about. Obviously, this is going to be important moving forward, so even if you guys are further ahead in the book, give this a look once in a while. And if you can't do that, make sure you're journaling, man. Journaling is a big, big deal. I know you're probably going to hate me saying journaling by, next week if you don't hate it already, but it's very important. Very, very important. One more thing. Oh, wow. If in this process you feel like you do need a little more motivation, a sponsor is always a great idea. I probably wouldn't have got as far as I have without a decent sponsor of a substantial sobriety date, and that had worked through a lot of the things that I was currently working through to kind of push me along, poke me when I felt lazy, and give me the thumbs up when I was doing a really good job. It's always good to know that someone's always in contact with you, that is on a level playing field with you, that knows exactly where you've been, and is willing to help you night or day with it. So that's a very important resource, guys. In some people, it's not their cup of tea, but it's just a suggestion. So with that being said, guys, since this is a lot of exercises, I can encourage you guys, read through, maybe reassess your 3 questions, reassess your cost-benefit analysis as it pertains to you currently. Go through and take a look at a change plan worksheet. Maybe for something non-specific to your recovery. Maybe, you could use this for anything. I'm going to make financial changes to afford my next 3 months car payment without putting a strain on my household's finances. Anything. And you know what, guys? I'm going to stop blabbering. Last week I stretched y'all's ear for 30 minutes on basically nothing, so I'll let you guys off the hook a little early this week. So if you get asked what the password is, this week's password is going to be Shaner Boehner. And that's my childhood nickname. I'm sorry, I couldn't think of anything else off the top of my head. So, Shaner Boehner. Remember it. Alright, guys. Once again, my name's Shane. It's been great being with you guys. If you need someone to talk to, call the front office. Tell them you have my permission. Get my number. Shoot me a text, and hit me up. Okay? Alright, you guys. Love and peace. Have a good day.